Okay, this is a video for homework 7, question 10, that is a multiple linear regression. So we have multiple variables here that we're plotting against wind chill. So to do this problem, you have to use StatCrunch. I certainly want to do this one by hand. So I'm going to open this in StatCrunch. Helps a little bit. And just to help myself here, I'm going to make sure that I label my my top columns here because sometimes I get confused. I don't remember which one's x1, which one's x2, which one's y. So x1, I believe, is our air temperature. So I'm just going to write air temperature here. And then it's just a nice little hint that helps, helps you organize. And then x2 is wind speed. So I'm going to type wind speed here. Come on. There it goes. And then y is wind chill. Okay, so I have wind chill. Okay, and that just makes me feel a little better as I go ahead and do all of my regression. So first of all, to run the regression, we're going to go to stat. You're going to go down to regression, and this is a multiple linear regression. Okay, now our x variables are both air temp and wind speed, so you might want to hold on your shift button as you click those. And the y variable up here is wind chill. Okay, now what we're going to have to do in this problem is also take a look at the residual graphs. And again, you don't want to have to do those by hand. And what happens here is that in this multiple linear regression menu, it will plot the residuals for the y variable, but it won't plot it for the x variables. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a workaround, and we're going to add a column here. We're going to save our residuals as we go ahead and do this. So I'm going to click Save where it says Save Residuals, and it's going to create a whole new column for me in my StatCrunch that I'll then be able to use to plot my residuals against air temp and wind speed and help me to choose the correct graph later on. So don't forget to save your residuals. And we just click Compute. So once we click compute, notice that it's added my residual column, which is what I wanted, right? We're going to use that later. But here we have our entire equation right at the top. They do put it in a table here, all of the different estimates, right? Which they've just now filled into each one of the values here. But now you can go back and plug them in. So I'm just going to go do that. So let's see here. I think I'm rounding to 3 decimal places. Yes. So that first value is negative 12.509. So I'll plot that, negative 12.509. The second one in front of air temp is 1.334. 1.334. And then for me, I have wind speed negative 0.414. So negative 0.414. Now again, your numbers are going to be a little bit different because you're doing, it'll just change the numbers for you, but just run it the same way that I did. Okay, so now here you notice we do have to do these residual plots. Now we want the residual plot for air temp. Again, we couldn't actually run that through this little linear regression function, so we're going to do it now for air temp versus our residuals. Okay, so click out of this. If you ever want to get back, just so you know, StatCrunch does save it for you. So if I click StatCrunch, you have hidden results here that you can then choose if you need to go back. But I'm going to click Graph. And here I want to do a scatter plot. And we're going to do our x variable will be our air temp, and our y variable will be our residuals. So this will be a residual plot against our air temp, but I'm making sure that that was at 4. Yes. Okay. And click Compute. So if you look here, what you want to do, it's not going to look perfect, okay? Notice on your x-axis we have 0, we have negative 15, we have positive 15. It might be a little different when we go and click on the graphs in a second. But you want to, look for key identifying points that'll make it easier for you to pick out which graph it is. So one thing I really notice is that I do have these 2 points grouped together. I kind of 3 stacked on top of each other right at negative 15. I have another 3 stacked right on top of each other at positive 15, and I have this really high point at about 0, right? Where air temp is 0 and the residual itself is above 3, okay? So if you're ever not sure what a point is, if you kind of hover over it, it'll tell you what the value is, okay? So now I have to go pick out which value it is. So when I go to do my homework here, I can click on this little button so I can make this look bigger. And if you notice, I don't see these 2 lower points, so I don't think it's this one. Okay, and then I'll click here. Oh, I'm seeing this. This is kind of good. Let's see. So this is at, it looks like at about negative 15 because this is negative 20. So this may be it. That's what I'm thinking. Let me look at the other ones and see if those look similar. This one doesn't have anything on the negative side of the x-axis, so that's not that one. And then these ones don't have that high point. So I think that B is my solution. So let me check. And I'm correct. Okay. Now next we have to go back and do the same thing against wind speed. So I'm going to go back to my data set. I'm going to click Options, click Edit, and then I can change to wind speed. Okay. And then just click Compute. And here we have a graph that one really identifying thing about it is it has this kind of U shape. If you look, the data has this U shape happening where I have a really high value, probably right around 0. Let's see. Oh, I see. It's 5, 3.58. And then we go way down here and then we come back up. So let's see if there's a U shape that looks very similar. And this one doesn't have a U shape. This one certainly doesn't have a U shape. This one's a line. So I think that letter D is the winner. So let's try that. And there we go there. So that'll help you picking out your residual graphs. Now it says here, what might you conclude based on the plot of residuals against wind speed? Choose the correct answer below. So remember that if there is a plot that has some sort of linear pattern, then you think it may actually be a good fit. So if we look here, there is this U pattern happening, so I'm not sure if a linear model is appropriate. So it says, let's see, the plot shows a discernible pattern, so the linear model is appropriate. The plot shows no discernible pattern, so it is not appropriate. The plot shows a discernible pattern. It does. It's really a U shape, so the linear model is probably inappropriate. That's what I'm thinking. So it's not a line itself, so I'm thinking that the linear model isn't the best. Let's see. And I am correct. So it does have a pattern to it. It does have this U shape, but that pattern is not a line. So more than likely a quadratic model, a parabola, would probably better fit this model here. Okay, so I hope that helps you with number 10. It is kind of a little tough one if you didn't know how to run that multiple linear regression. And again, there was kind of that workaround for the residuals. Let me know if you need any more help.